Hello and welcome to Columbus Metropolitan Club. I'm Carol Newcomb-Aludo. I am the chair of the CMC's Board of Trustees. It's great to see everyone here today. We welcome you all. Today's forum marks CMC's final forum of 2018 and the final public appearance as Ohio's Governor John Kasich. But we look forward to seeing lots more of him in the coming years. Today's forum is sponsored by Porter Wright and Deloitte. Each are represented here by many friends and associates. Won't you please help me thank them? Now, please help me welcome Scott North, partner and chair of the Government and Regulatory Affairs practice at Porter Wright, Morris and Arthur, to introduce our forum. Scott.
Thank you, Carol. Porter Wright is proud to continue to support the Columbus Metropolitan Club in its mission to provide a weekly forum for public discourse in a civilized setting. Today, I have the privilege of introducing Ohio's 69th governor. Our democracy is a work in progress, as we all know, and we've just seen 8 years of that process pass by, and we're looking at many more years to continue that work. But I think we'll let the governor make those comments, and I'm sure, knowing him, he won't be shy about commenting on those things. So please join me in welcoming Ohio's Governor John Kasich. Thanks, Scott. Now, I also get to introduce someone who gets more airtime than any politician would ever dream of. And more than that, the privilege of introducing somebody I worked in practice law with for 10 years at Porter Wright, NBC4 anchor person and journalist and attorney at law, Colleen Marshall.
So, Governor, anything new?
Well, I mean, the first thing I want to say is it's always an honor to be able to be with all of you. You make me feel good and appreciated, and you're so kind. I also want to say that I think, look at this. This is a great room, okay? And I've been here a number of times, and this is impressive. And we are Columbus, Ohio. We are big time. We are a big-time operation, and so many things are developing in our community, from the arts to the renovation downtown, to the growth of venture capital, to new kinds of businesses. It's so exciting. But this is what matters for a community. So I was in Philadelphia a couple weeks, winding down my free speech tour. And I was there with the governor of Colorado, John Hickenlooper, and they had about, it wasn't much bigger than this. So, and it was very well attended. The people were really engaged. So the good of Columbus, which I love, and the good of Central Ohio, these kinds of events really matter in terms of stamping us on the hearts and minds of people from around the country. And I want to thank the Metropolitan Club. We just had a wonderful event at Otterbein College with the Italian ambassador to the United States. And these kinds of things matter. And I hope that we will continue to bring people in. And maybe I can even help once in a while with a good speaker or somebody that's particularly interesting. So thank you all very much for everything you've done for me over the last many years.
You know, Governor, I am going to be getting to your future plans because I know that's what so many people want to hear about, but I'm going to take you back in time a little bit as well. One of my first big assignments for NBC4, where I got to go to Washington, involved visiting a veteran senator, John Glenn, and a very young up-and-coming congressman by the name of John Kasich. I went to do a story on government waste, and at that time you were floating a budget that no one would support, that later became the balanced budget agreement with the Clinton administration. John Glenn today, looking back at, John Kasich today, looking back at John Kasich in the early 90s, what would you say to yourself then And is there something that you would say to yourself to do differently?
Well, I mean, I thank the Lord for giving me more compassion. I mean, maybe I always had it. I can remember my mother, we had these pony rides up at our little school, and the pony ride was, you know, like a dime, and my mother gave him like $1, and I said, Mom, it didn't cost that much. She said, Johnny, did you see that boy's eye? He needs the money more than we do. And I can remember my father doing certain things for people who picked up the trash. My dad was delivering the mail, of course. And so maybe early on, I appreciate the fact, and that doesn't mean you, I mean, if you're not a believer, that doesn't mean you don't have a good heart, but for whatever reason, and particularly over these last 8 years, but even back in the old days in the legislature, I could remember voting as one of very few Republicans for a place for abused women to go. And I remember that was not viewed as a, you know, conservative thing. I was like, what are you people crazy? So always sticking up for the underdog has sort of been in me, but having a good heart, and that's what I'm most proud of as being governor. I have a great team of people. They've been around a long time, and some of the people here have been helping me for close to 40 years. We just didn't ignore anybody. If you're poor, if you're mentally ill, if you're drug addicted, if you're in the minority community, if you're a small business trying to make it, we got a place for you. And we will figure out how to do it. You know, in Westerville at this grill I go to all the time, and a man walked in and he had 2 boys with him, and one kept saying, did we wake up yet? Did we wake up yet? And of course, I recognized it right away, and he had his twin brother. And I'm looking at the dad, and I'm thinking, what an amazing experience for him. And how is he maneuvering all this? So I had the lady serving the food say, hey, come on back to the corner where I was. And I said, are you getting everything you need? Are we helping you with the challenges that you have with your sons? And he said, we are. Now, we always need more money for scholarships and things like that, but it's working. Isn't that great? That's just great. I got a beautiful email from Gail Tannenbaum today. Beautiful email. I'm going to save this one. And so, you know, I think the idea that top to bottom, you don't punish the successful, but you help everybody to become successful, that's really been great. And do I regret anything? No, I really don't regret anything. I'm just having a great time. And I'm always thinking about today and tomorrow. I never kind of look back. I mean, it's been great, great experience. 30 years in elected office. It seems like it was yesterday. And the thing that's so amazing is how damn young I still am, you know?
You know, when you were running against Ted Strickland at the beginning part of your administration, there was so much talk about the budget deficit. Yeah. Your blame was on the Strickland administration. Democrats would tell you the entire nation's economy was tanking, that a lot of it Wall Street could take blame for. That's been a talking point for your administration since the early days, that you came in and you filled this budget deficit. Democrats would say the economy itself came back up. How do you respond to that? Who's responsible for the turnaround in the economy in Ohio?
You know, why do we have to be so partisan? You know, this guy's running for Congress. He's, I don't know what, some office here in the, I don't know what he is. And he was running ads trying to say that he's voted for me and all this stuff. And then at the end, they asked him, well, is Kasich doing a good job? You know, he goes, no. I mean, how stupid is that? I mean, just say, yeah, I don't agree with him on everything. It's like I was on CNN the other night, and they were asking, well, with this court ruling, who wins? You know, Dick Durbin says the Republicans are in the bind on that. I said, well, why don't we think about who's really in the bind? And that's the people who are going to lose their health care. So who's responsible for this? Look, what we did was to make it a more habitable place for businesses. You know, I mean, we made it business friendly. We reduced some regulations, we reduced some taxes, but we also became financially stable. And I remember this, Colleen, they said there is no way that he can come in, balance the budget, cut taxes without throwing the poor in the gutter. I remember that. Well, none of that happened. So now we're strong financially. We got money in the bank. We're up almost 600,000 jobs. And we didn't leave anybody behind. And, you know, it's kind of worked out. Who's responsible? We're somewhat responsible, but businesses are responsible. The thing that I love about Ohio now that I don't want you to miss, we are not just a manufacturing state anymore. We're still viewed heavily as a manufacturing state. My friend Mark Kwame will say this. They're kind of viewed heavy that way, but it's changing. It's changing now. So if you're thinking about data analytics, you're thinking about cloud computing, you're thinking about new ways of doing insurance, when you think about cover your meds, all these different things, healthcare, Cleveland Clinic, what they're doing, really awesome. So I went up to see the rating agencies who told me that we were dead 8 years ago. And I went up and said, well, I mean, we're kind of not dead and we're doing great. But here's what we said to them. In the past, when Ohio was in the ditch, it would come out and then it would go back down. What's happening in Ohio now is we came out, but we're maintaining the level of improvement. And the reason we're doing it is because we have a diversified economy. So for all of those that have all their money invested in stocks, call your broker. Diversification is the key to long-term financial success. So it's working. Who gets the credit? Oh, give it all to me. I'm the greatest guy, okay? I mean, it's everybody working together. But Ohio has the potential to be so great and continue to do great, but we have the potential to do poorly. And it's all about risk-taking. Jobs Ohio. This is the most effective economic organization in America, and everybody knows it. Few in the press don't know it, but you know that's their job. That's okay. But it's incredible. Look at all the infrastructure improvements we had. 30% increase in highways, dams, save Buckeye Lake, all these kinds of things. You think that was easy? I got criticized. Who cares? The leaders have to walk a lonely road, build a team, and go do things. So we have been innovative, and we don't really care about politics. Right, Scott? I mean, we see a problem. We don't care who's going to yell and scream. We're just going to go take care of it. And in the end, that's what works. And that's exactly what we've done. And Strickland had a tough time. My only problem is when you see the storm clouds coming, what do? You don't ignore them and go play golf. You go inside your house and you try to figure out how to deal with it. But I'm not here to criticize Strickland. I mean, he's a good man, and we got that. We're now in that new club, the Governor's Club: Celeste, Taft, Strickland, and me. So we're just all buddies, okay? Although I haven't seen Ted for a long time.
You touched on Jobs Ohio. You also will be remembered for Medicaid expansion. You did that, and
that was a really, really hard decision. It took so much courage to agree to take money from the federal government to help the mentally ill, the drug addicted, and the working poor. You can't believe how hard that was, okay?
And yet, members of your party did not want you to do that, and there's no guarantee that Mike DeWine will continue it. Are you working with him, or how is that
Mike's
transition
now going to be the governor. I'm doing right now what everybody, I get mad, when you ever watch the Olympics and you see Usain Bolt and he's getting to the end, getting ready to, and he like slows down. Or they're swimming, right, and you go, why don't they swim faster and touch the wall? Well, I'm running as hard as I can through the tape. And when I'm done here on the state of Ohio government. I'm done. So people want my advice, call me. Period. End of that. And what was the other part of that question?
Are you working with Mike DeWine on the transition?
Whatever he wants. If he wants my help, call me, I'll help him, of course. We have our people set up who've been working for, months to try to make sure that it's smooth and it works. But then you get to the point where it's their job, it's their time. End of story. Don't hang on. I used to say when I left Congress, Debbie was still there. God bless her that she had to work with me in Congress. But I used to say, I don't believe in riding around the parking lot in high school after you graduate, and so I won't be doing that here either. But there was something else that you brought up that I wanted to comment on. I don't remember. But the Medicaid expansion was very important. It's helped a lot of people. We are actually making great progress on the opiate crisis, and the reason that's happened is, and let me tell you, we're a 30% drop in prescribing guidelines and an 8-year low on prescribed opiate deaths. Now, what you read about is heroin and and cocaine. Now you got meth, and they lace it with fentanyl. Anybody you love, stay off the street corner. Don't buy that stuff. You might as well just take a gun and blow your brains out. It's poison in there. But we're making progress on the other side of this, and it was done over a period of time, and we're now a national model. I'm really happy about that.
People do want to know what your next plan is, and I know that you are still in the planning stages.
Right.
I also know that you still have your election committee together.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're going to make an announcement here today.
Yeah.
But as we look at what's going on in Washington right now, some people might speculate that the best thing that could happen to John Kasich is the impeachment of Donald Trump.
Well, that's not a good thing for anybody. I don't like anybody having troubles. That's just not where my head is. And look, I think that rather than people wringing their hands about Donald Trump or Nancy Pelosi or Barack Obama, think about it for a second. What impact day to day does a president of the United States have on your life? Seriously, think about it. Day to day. Set the mood. But other than that, and there's times when the president can have direct impact, but who really impacts you? People in the newsroom, the people in your job, the people in your family, the people in your town, the people in the school. So why are we wasting energy wringing our hands about that when there are so many things that we can be doing here? Because change doesn't come most of the time from the top down. It comes from the bottom up. I can't pass a red flag law to take the hands out of a gun out of an unstable person. You know why? Because I can't get you to show up on the lawn of the State House. You show up over there, we'll get what we want. Change almost always comes this way. Civil rights. You know, Martin Luther King emerged from the black church. He didn't create it, he came from it. And the churches and the women, Mrs. Hamer, who took beatings and gassings and dog bites and jail time, we don't hear much about her. She's one of the heroes of the civil rights movement. But it came this way. The Kennedys ran for the hills. You remember, I don't remember this, but I remember reading, and Doug Price will correct me if I'm wrong, but when Martin Luther King left the White House, he was bitterly disappointed with the Kennedys because they didn't want to touch this issue. How did it get done? Bottom up. How about women's suffrage? You think all the guys wanted the women to have all this power? You demanded it, and men joined you, and we got it done. The war in Vietnam, we'd still be there today had the campuses not exploded. And environmental awareness, it comes this way, this way. So the question for all of us is, what are we doing? And I have a little bit of news for y'all, because I'm working on another book I hope I'll do, but maybe I won't, we'll see. Nobody's getting out of this place alive. Okay, I don't mean this place. But when you think about that for a second, when you think about the fact that your life will have an end point, what are you doing with the life you have? Are you willing to lead a bigger life with a lot more positive impact than you are today? And by the way, if you happen to believe in an afterlife, then what is the impact of your temporal presence today for your eternal presence tomorrow? And when we think about that, we become more inspired. And finally, I got a Christmas present for everybody here. No one, Debbie, will ever be like you again. And no one's ever been like you before. You're unique, and you're here for a reason. And you change the world. And we all do. Even the guy that turns off the lights at night. And that's what we have to believe as Americans. And all this nonsense and noise and you know, forget, you know, I mean, okay, turn it on for 5 minutes, and then for golfers, go to the Golf Channel, go to the, you know, the Food Channel, you know, watch a movie and forget all that crazy stuff down there, because it isn't working. And they'll figure that out at some point, but what we need to figure out is what we do right here. Think about that for a little bit. That's my Christmas present. You're special.
and what we do. Is it John Kasich running for president?
Well, I don't know about that, because why would I want to go and get into something where I couldn't have an impact or not win? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, even back in the old days, I remember, Terry, were you there when I ran for state senate? Yeah. Of course you were there. The very, very beginning. I thought I could beat Bob O'Shaughnessy. No one else in the world did, but I did. And I don't get into things where I don't think I can win. And I think right now, today, inside the Republican Party, I can't beat him in a primary. And well, we'll see. That's today. And, you know, is there an opportunity for an independent run? I don't know, maybe. Independents usually don't win, but is this a unique time? But I don't have to be a candidate to have a voice, because I will have a voice, believe me. And if you want to know what I'm going to do, you'll just look at what I did when I left Congress. There'll be some of the similarities, you know. Perhaps, look, I don't have anything, almost anything completed now. And I've got to wait until I get done before I can finally, you know, lock everything down and then have me back. I'll come and tell you what I'm doing.
You know, at the time, we know it's a divisive time. You touched on that. Not just nationally, but here in Ohio, if you just look at the most recent election, Democrats very strong in all the urban areas, in Franklin County, in Hamilton County, in Cuyahoga County. They're as blue as they can be. It's Trump country around the rest of the state.
Yeah, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's the right analysis. I think that what happened in Ohio, look, let's think about the country. So in Illinois, the Republicans got crushed, in Wisconsin crushed, in Michigan crushed, in Pennsylvania crushed, and here they won everything. Why? People didn't want to change. Why change? Things are pretty good. I've got a job, my wages are going up, I've got health care. The guy seems to care about me even when I don't have anything. I mean, why change? That's what this was. This was an election where people said, no reason, what am I going to change for? Now, I kind of watched some of the things over there, and I never thought they ran on some of the issues that they have as highly important right now. But that's, I think, why the Republicans did so well here. There was no reason. I mean, I'm kind of happy. Frankly, it's why I was reelected so strongly after 4 years. I mean, people said, well, you didn't have the best candidate. Yeah, I did. It's just that he couldn't raise any money from Democrats who normally help, because they said, you know, Albert Ratner in Cleveland, we waited 40 years to get what we get up here. You know, so I think this was a no-change election. Now, there isn't any question we've got more of a rural-urban situation. And the problem the Republicans have is when you don't have women, you don't have young, you don't have a college-educated, and that's not completely true, but a lot, when you don't have minorities, who's voting for you? And that's their challenge. And then the challenge they have with that is they have to begin to look, what matters in politics today? I learned this running for president. You don't care about my tax bill, and you don't care about my health care bill. You don't care about it, you don't understand it, you're not interested in it. But what I believe you care, I mean, some of you intellectuals here do, okay, but that's a small number. What do you really care about?
Are most of us stupid?
No. No, you're very smart. That's why you don't read all that stuff, okay? What you care about, I think, is this. Do you understand me? Do you care about me? Will you help me? That's what people want to know. Just like that kid down in Clemson, could I have a John Kasich hug? He didn't really care about all these different, you know, the issues mattered to him in a way, but they were nothing more than an arrow into the target of the bigger issue. And the bigger issue is we're lonely, aren't we? We're divided. Who really loves us? And I don't mean love us and, you know, I got to love you. I mean, who's willing to help me get through the troubles, the travails that I have in my life? That's what people want to know. And a lot of people voted for Trump because they were like, no one in that place cares about me. Look at the yellow vests in Paris. All these Parisians, you know, they sleep in the Louvre, they go out to Versailles, they have fancy dinners, and which we'd all like to be invited to, but nevertheless, okay? And they're at the hoi polloi, and then you're out in the rural areas. You're not making it. Your wages are not good, your kid's future is bleak, and you're marching, because I've had enough. And Macron was viewed as, he's there for the rich guy. Doesn't understand my problems. And I think that's what really matters today, is that. And once you can do that, then the issues fall under that. They fall in that. I think most people in politics do not have a clue about this. They want to know the details of this or the details of that. I don't think that's what carries the day. And it isn't the highest calling of politics. The highest calling is change the world and keep everybody in mind. That's kind of the way I think about it.
Before you leave office, you have some big decisions to make. One of them is on the future of the heartbeat bill. And
I've made a lot of decisions, but you'll have to read about it.
Will you not tell us?
Or I'll go, no, I'm not going to tell you until I have something to say. You know what? The hardest thing for politicians is when they get a question like that to say, no, I'm not going to tell you. So any young upcoming politicians, when the press asks you a question you want to answer, you say, sorry, I'm not answering your question. And no, I'm not going to tell you because there's a reason. And there'll be anything that I veto, there'll be a veto message. Anything I sign, you'll know. I'm not trying to be coy or difficult. There's just a strategy behind what we do.
And when will those decisions be made?
I think some of them tomorrow, right? I mean, is Tim here? Where's Tim? Is he not here? He didn't come. He's back preparing veto messages.
You know,
well, let me tell you about one thing in particular, guns. Okay. Now, oh yes, Debbie and I voted for the assault weapons ban, and we couldn't go to Chef Onette's. They had a target on the "Don't come in here," right?
That's right.
And then they tried to take my committee away and all that stuff. Well, I'm a Second Amendment person. But voting for the assault weapons ban, and let me tell you a funny thing about politics. Okay, this is a great story. Dewey Stokes, God bless him, he's a great guy, was the head of the FOP, National FOP. He begged me for weeks to go for the assault weapons ban because he said, we are outgunned, okay? He convinced me, okay, this is a reasonable thing to do for law enforcement. I vote for it. I actually vote for the crime bill, which, by the way, is now put into law permanently because it made a lot of sense. And the caucus went crazy. I was the senior Republican and went, take me off my committee and all that. Well, I beat all that back. So, and that was the first time I'd really gotten roughed up. And it's good to be roughed up because then you learn what roughed up means. And so then I run for governor, right? Now, I voted for 100%, I mean, not 100, but close to 100%, because I'm a Second Amendment guy. So the election comes in 2010. Strickland gets endorsed by the NRA. He repudiated his stance, by the way, a little bit later. He was endorsed by the FOP and the NRA. So I got nothing. I didn't get the FOP. I didn't get the NRA. Thank you very much for your work on voting for an assault weapons ban. Do you see how it works? But if you go into this business trying to calculate your votes or your wins or your losses, you don't be stupid about it. You're a loser. So where am I now? Well, I've signed a lot of concealed carry. I believe in the Second Amendment. But I also believe that there are some important restrictions we need to put on the Second Amendment. And Judge Alito, I'm not Alito, our great judge, our chief judge.
Robert?
No, the one who we lost, the giant judiciary. No.
Scalia?
Scalia said there are even limits to the Second Amendment. So we have wanted a bunch of things, and I want to give the Trump administration, people say, what do you praise the Trump administration? They're going to ban bump stocks. Thank God. We can't get it done over here. We can't get it done over here. I want to pass a this really infuriates me. I want to pass a red flag law. What does it say? You know somebody in your family or somebody in your business who's unstable, who presents a real clear and present danger to those around them. You go to a court. If the court agrees, you take their gun away. You restore it to them when they're stabilized. I can't pass that. Can't pass it. So why would I sign a bill that gives more power to the gun advocates? Look, what do you think, I'm crazy? You think I don't mean this? It's just so, aren't you infuriated by that? For the first time in my lifetime, the possibility of somebody coming through that door and shooting us exists. It never existed in America. And we can't do anything because of rotten, stinking politics? I'm blaming some of you because you're not engaged. I get 10,000 people on the grounds of that State House. What happens, Lynch?
It's an action.
We pass the bill. You see what I'm saying about power like this? And I'm not saying everybody here's got to be into the gun thing, but be into something. Be into something. So I don't want to get into all the vetoes, but I think I just give you a very good hint about how I think about guns.
Yeah, I figured
Okay?
that one out. I did get that. I do want to very quickly remind the audience, as we do every week at the Metropolitan Club, we are going to take audience questions. And
Only if they're easy.
only if they're easy. So we will have, I believe we have a microphone set up. Is that right?
You know,
Over there?
can I tell you
right
something?
Over there.
Since
so
we're
if you
all
would like to
friends
line
here.
up, we're going to.
Since we're all friends, can I just I want to tell you something. I can't hardly believe I'm sitting here. Honestly, how did I get here? How is it possible that I came from McKees Rocks and went up to the university? How am I here? So the wow factor, you know, it still hits me. Wow. And then you're all here, and you're all listening. And I mean, it's hard to believe. So I thank the Lord and try to keep my feet on the ground. And when you ask, what am I going to do next? It's kind of out of my hands. It's the call of a higher power. And he might just say, John, we've had enough of you. Shut up, okay? And I won't like it, but I don't think I can beat him down. I think I got to go what he wants. So.
And I do want you to reveal, as the Browns are having a pretty remarkable year for the Browns, that you are in your heart still a Steelers fan.
Oh, yeah. We don't change that. I'm not like Hillary. Well, I'm for the Steelers. I'm for the Browns. I'm for the Bengals. I'm for, wherever city I'm in, I went to Cleveland once. In the beginning part of my term, and I said, because I love Cleveland. I just love Cleveland because it's like Pittsburgh. And I told them it's two different sides of the same coin. And they started booing me. And I said, well, when you win your 4th Super Bowl, give me a call, would you? I barely got out of the room alive, so. All right.
All right, I believe it's time for us to start.
Unless you have some others.
Well,
Okay.
By the way, he will be on air with me tonight at 7 o'clock, and I will have some other questions for you at that time.
Well, we may have something to say by then, right, Scott?
I'm hoping you do.
Okay.
I want to remind everyone who's lining up for questions, this is a question period. Don't give me a speech. Get to your question, tell us who you are, and ask the governor what you would like to know.
First, I just want to say thank you, Governor, for your 8 years of service to Ohio. My name's Erin. I'm a medical student in Ohio, and I just want to say that 2 of my best friends have told me recently that they will not stay here and practice in Ohio because of some of the laws that are currently out that attack women's health care. And given the importance of the medical community to the Ohio economy, are you concerned at all that the latest abortion bans will hurt the economy?
Well, we have a number of things that are being offered, which I'll have something to say about, within the next 24 hours. But I'm pro-life, and I have exceptions to that. And, in terms of women's health, what's more important than that, And I saw the court just ruled that states can't cut off funding for Planned Parenthood. But we have very robust funding for women's health. It's really, really critical. And so, the states are laboratories of democracy, and I just think, and that's what it is. So you can go and live wherever you want to. I think that issue, whether you're pro-life or pro-choice, is moving in the direction of the earliest the better and not the latest. Now, the heartbeat bill is another question, and the first time I saw it, I vetoed it, okay? So I thought it would be probably ruled unconstitutional, and it was not something that I supported. It didn't take care of the problem of rape, incest, and life of the mother. I'll be making my final decision on that bill, not tonight, but tomorrow. But we should continue to fund women's health. Part of the reason why I expanded Medicaid was to do just that. But I think we're a progressive state. We're always looking forward. We've got some of the best health care, across our state, and I think it's a great place for physicians. And I congratulate you for being in it. My daughter finished her first semester, and she's in pre-med, and we're all praying about her public health grade. So it hasn't come yet. We'll let you know. What year are you?
I'm a second year.
In medical school?
In medical school.
God, what kind of a doctor are you going to be?
Right now, I'm hoping for OBGYN.
Good for you. Well, God bless you and good luck. And you're at Ohio State?
I go to an Ohio medical school.
Okay. Well, good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm a CMC member, David Weaver. I'm also director of the Ohioana Library. Thank you, John, for your great support of Ohioana these 8 years. And I wanted to ask, now that you'll be leaving office, your last book, Two Nations, was so thought-provoking. Are you going to write another book once you're out of office?
Well, one of the things that I'm really proud of, I've had 4 New York Times bestsellers. That's another, and you didn't buy them, so that makes me unhappy today. But no, I'm thinking about a book about the 10 things that every human being should know or think about. And one of them is that we're not going to live forever. And what comes from that? And how do we get out of our silos? And how do we, here's the interesting thing. We think, okay, Kasich's up there and he's saying, I got to go change the world and I'm nobody, I'm just one old person. So there's a guy named Albert Lexie who I met in Pittsburgh. He was developmentally disabled. He took up shoe shining for a living. He shined shoes, 40 years. He would take the money for the shoe shine in one pocket and tip money in his other pocket. And he's donated over $200,000 to the fund at the Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh for people that couldn't pay their bills. Now let me ask you this question. If we believe in an afterlife, how do you think Albert's doing? Yeah, that's like eternity. This life is like this. That's forever. I like Albert. I hope that he'll remember me. I met Mother Teresa one time, and she came to the Capitol, and that was so ridiculous. It was, so loud and noisy and then all of a sudden she showed up, everything quieted down, and everybody was so reverent. And I went over to her and I said, listen, Mother Teresa, I just need a broom closet with a view of the golf course. That's all I need. That is all I need. And she went, she's Albanian, That was the only time she laughed the entire time she was in. You remember that, Debbie, when she came? Oh, yeah. Yes. You prayed that you'd get reelected. That was, I prayed for something bigger than that. Okay. You're welcome.
Governor Kasich, thank you for your time and your service over the many, many years that I've been privileged to know you. My name is Michelle Klein. I'm a former Westerville City School Administrator and currently the Chief Accountability Officer in the Columbus City Schools. And I have 2 questions for you. The first one is, will you be signing House Bill 491 with the new graduation requirements?
Ma'am, I don't know. I'm not going to, look, here's the thing. We're now down here in the looking at stuff here. I went to Cristo Rey the other day. I don't know. I might sign, probably. I don't know. But I have to just look at it, okay? To me, it's, look, do you understand? Our schools don't get it. So I went to Cristo Rey the other day for a workforce board meeting, which we have business people on the workforce board. It's a shocking thing, So they take kids go to school 4 days a week, and the 5th day they go and have a work experience. Now, I can take a kid, let me talk about my daughter Reese. She went to work at Pink. When she went to college, she understood why statistics were important. She understood why math was important. She understood how you dress. She understood manners. We taught her a lot at home. But you can transform a kid's life if you get them out of the classroom into a real work experience. And God bless you for your work, but our schools are not doing it. Some are, and I'm not here to disparage them. I'm not here to disparage teachers. They are trapped in a system that seems immune to change. And people say, well, if we just had vouchers, come on. Go out and look at Abigail's KIPP school. Go and see what they do with those kids out there, how they transform their lives. if I took a kid who had a boy or a girl who had some interest in, they watch television and they want to know about lawyers. I take a boy or a girl and I put them over there with Debbie, should change their life. She'll change their life. When I was a kid, I used to go to the courtroom in Pittsburgh and watch people argue back and forth. That was my little work experience, but it meant something to me. If I have somebody who's interested in media, kids they love digital media. They go over to Channel 4. You ever have kids in there? Their eyes are popping out of their head. Why aren't they working there? Why aren't they there 1 day a week for the 5 days? And then they can teach them the essential things. You see, our biggest challenge in Ohio now, and the challenge in rural America, is workforce. If you don't have a qualified workforce, they're not coming. And you could be a poor area in this state, and if you have great workers, you will land businesses. I have no doubt about it. And now with distance work and digital transformation, it's incredible. But are we preparing people to be resilient? I got people out of work now because of GM. Do they understand resilience? Did they understand that there's an opportunity for them to get another kind of a job? Do they understand that? Do we have lifelong education? Is education practical? And I'm not just saying practical, because we have to care about the arts, we have to care about the classics, we have to understand how to think. My daughter goes to Columbia College of Chicago, and it's a school for people who are creative. But they need to have the basics, but get them out of the classroom. And so we worry, okay, what are we giving them credit for? And I was in this trick bag for a while. You know, what, did they get an A? Did they get a C? I mean, come on, wake me up. This is the era of the flying car. And you think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. This is the era of beyond the smartphone. This is the era we're going to head to 5G. This is the area of cars driving themselves. What are we doing with people who drive? The #1 occupation in America is driving. What do you think is going to happen with those people? Where are they going? I don't know where they're going, because we're behind the curve, and we're worried about it. We're going to sign H. Bill 31 and 4. I mean, you know, it's why it's time for me to leave, right? Because I have a totally and completely different vision. And all the higher ed people, they all hear me and they roll their eyes, because if they don't get their act together, they'll be disintermediated. Because I'll tell you what's going to happen. Our friend Sebastian Throne is now going to companies and developing curriculum. You want to be a coder? They'll teach you how to code. You'll go online for almost no cost, and they'll hire you. You don't have to go 4 years. Now, I love the 4-year experience. I loved going to Ohio State. I love the whole thing about it. But it's going to change. Now, everybody's not going to be disintermediated, but many are. And we have to get real that education gives you a value that increases your work, your resilience, and your value for employers. Because if you can't work, you lose hope. And when you lose hope, you're on opiates sometimes, or other bad things happen. So giving experience, giving training, thinking different about education, I would turn some of these Columbus public schools over to businesses. And then I'd ask the businesses, are you in business just for the bottom line, or can we help you develop a workforce that at the end will help your bottom line? The Cristo Rey people told me, well, you know, some businesses just they don't want to participate in this. They don't want to participate in saving young lives? What are they participating in? Another, what do you call those things they do up there before the football games? Another tailgate? We'll put our money into tailgates. Wake up. This is our future. So, ma'am, I'll let you know if I sign it. I think we're signing it. It's a lot I said there, but I want everybody to think about it.
Ma'am?
Hi, Dr. Governor
After
Kasich.
that, I don't think anybody wants to ask a question.
This is not on this subject you just covered at all.
Let's get a woman's name and phone number, and when we make that decision, Scott, I will personally call her and tell her what we're doing, okay? Yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Dr. Alice Frazier. I'm a retired physician and retired from Ohio State University College of Medicine, Department of Family Medicine. I was going to ask you if you would veto the second trimester abortion bill, which you've already indicated you're not answering that question. But I do want to thank you for Medicaid expansion. This is a huge deal to physicians to be able to know that their patients can come see them and are able to fill their medications and make their follow-up visits. My interest in the abortion issue actually dates back to when I was a medical student before Roe versus Wade. I saw.
We have very limited time. Do you have a question for the governor?
I was going to ask him about vetoing the second
we'll
trimester,
let you know.
which I know
okay.
you. So thank you anyway.
One thing about health care we know, and look, you keep going in the way we're going, it's absolutely going to be, it's going to be limited to people. We're going to have less and less health care. It's just not going to be a good thing. We need to begin to think about paying for performance. Now, when you go to see a doctor, and they say, well, you have to have this procedure. Have you ever asked a doctor did you ever go to a doctor? You look very healthy. Okay. Did the doctor ever tell you, you need to have this checked or that checked? Okay. Did you ever ask the doctor, what does that cost? Did you ever ask them, how effective is it? Now, when you go to buy a car, do you ask them what the price is? Okay. So why is it that we're more interested in the price of our automobile and less interested in the cost of what we ask for in health care? So what we need to do is to begin to turn it. First of all, there should be no lifetime limits. If you get sick, it shouldn't be a penalty. You shouldn't be bankrupted. And you should never be denied an issue on the basis of pre-existing conditions. And we better be damn careful about how we use data, because if we use data and we can begin to think about the genetic aspect of data and then we can't buy health insurance, that'd be a disaster. An ethical question we need to think about with the use of data, the widespread use of data, facial recognition, all kinds of stuff like that. But ultimately, you need to turn this so that we begin to find out who provides the best service for the lowest possible price. Companies need to do it. We all need to do it. We need to let people be able to band together in smaller groups to buy health care coverage in a different way. This is really important for the future of our country and the future of our people. And so healthcare, critically important, but we need a sea change and not just nibbling around the edges.
All right, could you give us your next question, please?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Mary Korn. I'm the CEO of Pearl Interactive Network. I've created 400 jobs in Winchester, Kentucky, and 700 more in Tempe, Arizona. You have a bill on your desk that was approved by the Senate and the House that would make certification of women business owners a reality for the state of Ohio. You and I have two things in common. I'm from Pittsburgh, and I want to create jobs in Ohio. And my question is before you leave, would you sign the bill?
Well, it sounds to me like there'd be no reason not to sign that bill, and I could probably tell you yes now, but come up here again and we'll find out what bill it is and all this. The way I do the bills is we go through them. My legislative director runs through them. I know what most of them are that are moving through, but there's I signed, I don't know how many today. So it's a process we do, and I have to let you know. I don't want to mislead you. But we'd love you to come to Ohio. We have much better weather than Tempe or Arizona. And where's the other place you are?
We're in Winchester, Kentucky. We have 400 employees there. We're bringing up 750 in Tempe.
Well, good. Congratulations for all that. That's pretty good, but you're missing it. You need to come here.
But with the certification
Drake will get you free football tickets if you move him here. Well, we know that that's an impossibility. Deal. Okay.
Thank you. Sir, this is going to be our last question, sir. If you could quickly give us your question.
Governor, thank you very much. I'm Richard Burnett, your near neighbor at Trinity Episcopal Church on Capitol Square. And when I first came to this diocese and to Ohio, I used to have meetings in Xenia. And I read Taylor Branch's book, this trilogy on the civil rights movement, and realized that whenever you go to Xenia, you're in holy ground. You talked about Fannie Lou Hamer. We think of the young Marion Wright out of Yale Law School, and Bob Moses and others who trained the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee to go to the South and do the kind of grassroots work that you were talking about. I don't know that the governor in the 1960s would have thought of Xenia, Ohio, gathering those kids as holy ground, but it is holy ground. What do you think future governors will understand to be holy ground in particular for the new generation and a new age in Ohio?
Well, you know, this gets to. I'm not quite sure what. Elongate that a little bit. What do you mean? What the
No one's ever asked me to do that before, Governor.
I'm not sure what you're asking.
You're talking about, you know, the work that was done in a very
you mean
quiet
how do we
way.
inspire these young people?
Well, what places that you see in this state will be seen in the future as being not just incubators, but really generators of sparks of new life and imagination in this great state?
One of the things that I just did that I'm really feel good about is that I named a park over in the eastern part of the state after Jesse Owens. And I came up with that on my own, and I thought it was just great. And the Owens family came in, and it was wonderful. But here's what I believe. These sparks have to come from right where we are. The university, the community college, what happens in our K through 12 schools. I believe the reason why we've been so successful as a team in my office is, and people have been around so long, is because we all believe that we need to live a life a little bigger than ourselves. And it's not a phony baloney political slogan, or we do it. We don't just say it, we do it. And maybe that's the best thing to say. If you want to live a life bigger than yourself, don't tell somebody how to do it. Use words only if you have to. And I think in our administration, it has been, let's call them like we see them, let's stand fast. And I think that when we all realize our value, that we are all made by a creator, and that isn't to hit on a humanist. I'm just talking about the way I see life. That we realize that we're made by a creator for something special, and if we can pass that on to somebody else, we've created a spark, haven't we? And given them the courage to realize that life is short. Stand up, stand for something. And if you do that, I mean, we're a healthy, listen, let me say one last thing about America. We have the president talking about, you know, these alliances and allies and America first. Okay, yeah, of course, we have to take care of ourselves, okay? But not at the exclusion of others. We are a great moral force for the entire, particularly for the free world. Who is going to stand against those that are autocrats and are all about tyranny if we're not there? Who's going to do it? Are the Spanish going to do it? God bless them. Are the French going to do it? No, we do it. We have a big responsibility and a big burden. And if we disappear, the world will become more dangerous, less free, and less hopeful. That's why we can't retreat. Yes, take care of ourselves? Sure. America first? Okay. But what about other people? They matter. Those countries count. And together, we advance humanity to a place where you and I believe it ought to be. More peace, more advancement, more cooperation. That's what it's all about. This morning, I turned on the CBS website and watch these stories about these kids in Yemen. Thank God we're born in America. These kids in Yemen. One little girl saw her brothers killed. She watched her baby sister, I think, died of starvation. That's not acceptable, is it? Because when one of those kids die, we all die. And when one of them is rescued, we're all set free. Thanks for letting me be here today.
Thank you, Governor. That was a great way to, thank you.
I hope you all are encouraged to do something, maybe even to stand on the State House lawn for something you believe in. Let's thank our sponsors, Porter Wright and Deloitte, and our speakers, Governor John Kasich and Colleen Marshall. Thank you. Happy holidays, and we look forward to seeing you January 9th.